I'm Marisa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freud, and this is The Next Page. Marissa, how are you?
I am good. I am tired from being out last night at MACNY's annual celebration of manufacturing.
Yes. Wasn't it amazing, though, to be in person again?
Yes, it was so nice. We saw so many familiar faces and some new ones, or faces that I've only seen virtually over Zoom.
Right.
So it was so nice. So I'm tired, but it's a good tired, and it was really a nice event.
One of our coworkers said to me last evening, just before she went home, she said, "This is kind of like makes me feel like it was kind of like a wedding.
Oh yeah,
you work and you work and you work and you work to get it done, and then it's like over with so quickly."
Mm-hmm. That's how I feel every year.
The only difference is we don't get to go on a trip after.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we should work on that. Good. We need to have some kind of like a boat cruise or something the next day.
There we go. Well, I remember one year after our Maxwell certification, at the time, the president of the John Maxwell team was Paul Martinelli, and he and his wife, Kelly, had planned a cruise that started like the Sunday after the event. Thought, oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
But I'm tired. When I got home last night, I was too wound up and I couldn't sleep right away. So I'm really tired, but so glad that we were able to see people. The weather is amazing.
Oh, it's so incredible. I'm so happy with the weather.
Yes. It's like, come on, sunshine, and warm the pool, because I was too cheap to put a heater in it. But anyways, it's good. And it's so much nicer to be able to be outside, to sunshine, fresh air. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone, get outside. So today, pursuing strength. So let me set the table for today. Our listeners know that I've been going through a bunch of reflections, and I've been, when I got done, I think what we posted last week was like it was really frightening. What I realized in April was that I wasn't focusing on positives. I was focusing on a bunch of negatives. I had almost no learnings. I wasn't, I guess I was unhappy, maybe you might even say. And then what I decided was, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm going to make a shift. And I have access to a monthly mentoring call with John Maxwell, and I rarely use it. In fact, I don't know when I used it last. And I decided Monday, I said, that's it. This is crazy. I have a window here. I'm going to log into the call, because I get a reminder once a month that this call is going to happen on a Tuesday. It might have been, I think it was Tuesday at 2. I'm going to jump on the call. And I got on the call about 5 minutes late. And before I knew it, the call was over with, and I had 9 learnings that I pulled off 1 hour. Now, our listeners can remember the entire month of April, I didn't have 9. And this was 1 hour. And so the point was, if I shifted just a little bit, and that's something that Marshall Goldsmith says, you don't need major shifts in behaviors. You need slight tweaks to change amazing things. So I logged onto the call, and John was talking about pursuing strength. I thought, this looks interesting. And I start listening. And so what I have here, I have 3 takeaways right in my post, and then that went out this morning, and then an additional 6 that I said in the email that we would talk about as part of the podcast. So I'll just jump right in. So these are all teachings that John built off quotes. So John had a quote, he shared the quote, and then he taught on it. And I love this one. You will never see the end if you quit in the middle. Like, that's kind of like a duh statement. But how many things do we stop in the middle?
Right. Well, I think a lot of times too, like we'll stop because we think that we're not going to be successful.
Right.
And I think that maybe that is the case sometimes, but you can learn something from those. And it's kind of like, but there's still a chance that you might be successful in whatever it is.
Right.
To see things through,
And I love how you put, no, you might not be successful, but you might learn. Well, then that actually becomes a success because you can make an adjustment and re-enter whatever it was you were trying with a new set of tools or a new set of parameters.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wondered to myself, everybody knows that listens that my word for 2022 was opportunity. So how many opportunities did I miss out on because I just didn't finish something? Had an idea, had a conversation, never saw it through.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sad if you think about it. It's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one here, and these were kind of interesting. A pessimist is someone who makes difficulties out of the opportunities they are given.
Mm.
Wow. And I know, I don't think I'm a pessimist. I really don't. I think even my DISC behavior profile would say I'm not. But I know people like this. They could get, when I was at SelfLock, a great order comes in, or customers looking for tons of product. And there would be people who say, oh my goodness, how are we ever going to get this out? Well, hello, you got the order.
Mm-hmm.
Come up with a system, find a way to make it work. And oftentimes we get tremendous creativity from the team when we look at something that's a big challenge. But the flip side, so again, the pessimist is someone who makes difficulties out of opportunities. An optimist is someone who makes opportunities out of the difficulties they're given. So what my takeaway from that one was this. Okay, I'm not a pessimist. I'm not the person that's going to whine and complain about the opportunity. But am I truly an optimist? Do I look at my difficulties as opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to that was no. And that's, 4 months in, a third of the way through the year, when my word is opportunity. Wow, am I glad I focused on this now, not in August or October. Because at least now I've got several more months in the year, 7-8 months in the year that I can do something about it. So, for me, those were really huge. And what I loved was John's teaching us about strengths. He's talking about how do you build strength? How do you become a stronger leader? And he's giving us so many things that are just so simple and yet so profound.
Yeah. And I look at that statement about pessimists and optimists and I think about just momentum as
yes.
it relates to strength is like you just, even if it's a small step or feels maybe inconsequential, like you just keep moving forward and keep things going. And that's, I think, part of strength is that you look at those difficulties or maybe you have a pessimistic point of view. And that's what stops us a lot of times, instead of saying like, yep, like that's a roadblock, but I can go around it. I can go over it. Like I can take the long way and still move forward toward the goal.
Exactly. And when I'm going the long way, when I'm taking that detour, what can I gain from the detour?
Yeah. I think we did an episode, something about
we did.
Detours.
That's what I was going to say. It reminds me of some things we talked about during the pandemic where, we were on a detour. Okay. So when you take a detour, look for opportunities in the detour.
Yeah.
Look for great restaurants, great attractions in the detour, places that you've missed because you've been rushing by. So again, one of the things, and I kind of closed my post with this statement, I'm not 100% all the way back. I'm not where I'd like to be, but I think that I've made some tremendous progress refocusing my mindset and re-engaging in just a couple weeks. And the key, so for me, it's like, okay, what's happening? How do I know that? What's the evidence? A 55-minute teaching, and I've got 6 takeaways. And the other cool thing was, then I started re-engaging a little bit more in my podcast. And now I was doing some of these things, but not hearing the learnings. And I was talking with a young man last night at our annual dinner, and he's been asking me, so when's the next? He's looking for the next level beyond transformational leadership. And he would email me, hey, is there anything else you want me to take? Is there anything else I should take? And so I told him last night, I said, it's coming. It's coming in September. I told him what the 5 topics were. I said, we don't have a title yet. Trust me, but it's coming. and he was just, his eyes lit up, and I reminded him, he goes, I don't understand why some of these things, and I forgot how he put it, like, for years I didn't realize something or something, but now I do. And I said, well, it's like that old proverb, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I wasn't ready, even though I was going through the motions, listening to different podcasts, listening to the audiobooks. I wasn't in a position to learn because my mindset wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
So by shifting the mindset, the teacher was always there. I just didn't see the teacher because the student wasn't ready. So lean in, keep trying, and it'll all of a sudden click. So then the additional ones. And these were just some notes, and it may not flow real well in terms of good English, but when we long for a life without difficulties, we need to remind ourselves that the oak tree grows in the direction of the contrary winds. It grows strongest in the direction of contrary winds.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, we all know this one. Diamonds are forged under great pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to be the best we can be, we got to lean into the headwinds. Somebody this week said something to me, and I'd heard the quote before, but they were so happy that they could share this quote, and I didn't want to tell them I'd heard it before. But one of the benefits of taking the high road is there's a lot less traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Because few people are there. So if you're really striving for excellence, you won't get as much traffic on that road. There's headwinds, there's challenges, but there aren't that many people willing to take it. This one was really telling too. An immature person only sees things through their own perspective. So what else was happening to me? Seeing things from another person's perspective doesn't necessarily mean that I change mine, but it does help me empathize. And so sometimes I think people are afraid to hear another person's viewpoint when they shouldn't be. Just because you're hearing it, if your convictions are right, based on your experience, your knowledge, your value system, hearing something else won't shake that.
Mm-hmm.
It may actually help you reformat your explanation as to why you believe what you believe. So don't be afraid to be challenged, and don't be afraid to listen to other people. So for me, that was a great reminder as well. A mature person absolutely can see things from another person's perspective. And we need to realize that there's always something new we can learn. And I have to say that there are times in my life, and notice I didn't say there have been, there still are times in my life when, based on my mindset, or based on my fatigue level, I'm either more or less open to hearing other people's views.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I haven't mastered it, but it's something that all of us, I think, can work on. It is immaturity to wish for easy things. Wow. And then I think, how many times did I wish a day would have gone differently? Mature people want what is best for them, not what is easy for them. So again, that strength is forged through difficult times.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I would love, you and I talked, about sitting by the pool type of thing with an iced tea. I don't grow in my leadership. Well, I guess if I was listening to a good podcast, see how I'm trying to combine those things there.
Well, no, recharging is important.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Recharging is very good.
Mm-hmm.
But the only time that recharging is valuable is if I have spent the energy.
I think you have.
You think I have? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I've earned the right.
You have earned.
Well, I didn't work nearly as hard as you and the staff did for the annual dinner. So, this one can be hard for people to get their heads around. The difficulties you meet will resolve themselves as you advance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard one for me to sometimes explain. So I've used this example in the past at night when we're driving in a car, we can only see a few hundred feet ahead of our car, but we don't wait to see the whole path to put the car in drive and take off.
Mm-hmm.
Because we believe that as we go forward, things will begin to clarify or become clear, and objects will appear, and we'll be able to navigate our way home. And the same thing happens with any difficulties. If you're not sure, just take the next step.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to what I previously said about maintaining that momentum and continuing to move forward. And I've said this before, but that we've all, if we've made it to today, if you're listening to this podcast, all of, you've come through all of your worst days.
Yes.
So I think we forget this. I mean, there are plenty of times. There were times in probably the last month where I thought this annual dinner is not going to happen. I cannot do this, or that I didn't think I had it in me to do certain things, and I look back and I'm like, how silly of me to think that, because now it's behind me.
Right. And it was a great experience. People were able to really, you could see the joy in people's minds, in their eyes, so to speak, of being able to see each other and talk with one another. And that was the result of a handful of people's efforts.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. It really was. The last one, takeaway that I had here, joy does not simply happen to us. We need to choose joy.
Yeah.
And keep choosing it every day.
Right. You have to find it. I think I feel like I say it a lot. Like, you have to, make your own sunshine sometimes. And
especially in Central New York.
Especially here. And especially if you're someone like me who really needs to see the sun. But I think it's like you have to almost... I feel like we live in this time, especially with like Instagram and social media, where we see a lot of like people's highlight reels, and we just start to think that like, oh, my life is supposed to be this way, or my house is supposed to look this way, or my family is supposed to look this way. That sometimes we miss out on those smaller joyful moments, or that we've almost like recalibrated in a bad way. We've recalibrated what we think joy should look and feel like, and we have to kind of step away from that and find those moments. And it might not be like 16 waking hours of joy especially if you're a parent, or like, a stressful day at work, but it's like, find that 30-minute walk around the block that brings you joy, or that meal, like, sit and enjoy that meal that makes you joyful, or those little moments, like you said, sitting by the pool, those moments, and you identify them and say like, this, I don't know, like Marie Kondo, this sparks joy for me, and welcome that, and expect it to find it every day.
Exactly. Well, you had said a couple podcasts back, and you also said it earlier in the year, that, when you lay awake at night, just to help yourself fall asleep, you look for the treasures of the day or something like that. And that's really what we're talking about here. Yeah. Choosing it. And so, for me, it starts with my coffee in the morning. That I make my coffee, and then I come to my office to have my quiet time and my thinking time and my devotion time, and then I start my day, and it's such a sweet time of day, because I'm a morning person. Other people may have it, a sweet time of day for them is sitting in the moonlight. That's not me. I'm usually asleep, at that time of the day. But finding those small things and just dwelling on them, dwelling on those little blessings. The other thing, and I mentioned this to you before we hit record, but I'll say it just so folks, see that, as like Lou Holtz said, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. So we're all very much the same. But for the last probably week and a half, almost every day, the attitude that I have chosen for the day is joy. And the reason is because I wasn't as joyful as I should be. So the only way to correct that is to choose it. and it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, did we miss anything?
I'm sure I did, but
well, clearly, you know what? If it was just something important, you would have said, "Dave, you forgot this," or "Dave." So it really wasn't. So this is a simple topic, but it's really valuable. Just remember, a pessimist is a person that finds difficulty in their opportunities, but an optimist is a person that makes opportunities out of their difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to choose joy. So, anything exciting coming up this weekend?
What is coming up this weekend? I don't know. I'm excited just to see the sun. So I'm just doing some
gardens
gardening.
Are starting?
Yep, I planted my garden last week, and I'll be getting my soil ready and planting soon.
Awesome.
So yes,
that's super exciting. I went out the other night, actually the night that Tim and I uncovered the pool. I walked to the back part of my property, and I had planted some pear trees last year.
Oh, right.
Now, one of the pear trees did not make it, but the other one had blossoms.
Wow.
So if it is a self-pollinating tree, I'm going to have pears.
That's so exciting. You have to keep me posted.
To go with my peaches and apples. So
I didn't know you had peaches.
I have a peach tree that gives me really nice peaches if I think to thin. Last year, I didn't think about the fact that you need to thin out the blossoms.
That's always the hardest part for me because I feel so bad picking my favorites.
So what I did was I didn't thin it, and then a major branch broke.
Yeah.
So I have a smaller peach tree this year, but they're really delicious peaches, and so now I'm hoping that the pears will be just as good.
Good.
So folks, get outside, enjoy the weather. Look for the opportunities. Make the opportunities out of your difficulties, but make sure you choose joy.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marissa Norcross.
This was The Next Page.